invite Jenny to come up and give us our reading. Can we give Jenny a bit of a round of applause? She's giving the word of the Lord. There you go, thank you.
Then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writing on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside it. I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." Then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing in the center of the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders. He had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. He came and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne, and when he had taken it, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sang a new song. "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain. And with your blood you purchased men for God, from every tribe and language and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth." Then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. They encircled the throne and the living creatures and the elders. In a loud voice they sang, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain, to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength, and honor and glory and praise." Then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and on the sea, and all that is in them singing, "To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb, be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever." The 4 living creatures said, "Amen," and the elders fell down and worshipped. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Thanks, Jenny. Thank you. See, no hard words. Guys, I don't know if you have your booklets, but this will be a good time to grab them. Maybe have them already. Here we go. Well, if you've been up with us, you know that we have been going through the book of Revelation, last book of the Bible. And when I was planning this, I was like, you know what, the book of Revelation, it reminds me of, have people seen the film Avengers Endgame? Yes. If you haven't, you are missing out because it's a wonderful film. But this was like a great film for me because it was a 10-year build-up from the first Marvel film, Iron Man, all the way to Endgame. 24 movies had come out, at least 24 characters, history. I remember actually when I went to the cinema, it was 12 o'clock at night. It was like the premiere opening. And there's a scene in it. And if you haven't watched it yet, it's too late now because it's a spoiler. But I remember there was a scene in it when Thanos is walking towards Captain America with his army, and Captain America is walking forward. Look, all hope is lost, and then all of everybody of all the characters come out at once. And in my heart, I was like, I want to stand and the charge. I was like, yeah. But then I wanted to do it, and then someone else stood up and went, "Avengers!" And I was like, Avengers as well. Everybody stood up. It was amazing. It was so great. And I think Revelation is like that in some way. I don't know if you are here tonight and you're like, Revelation, it's amazing. But it's the accumulation of, 65 books, lots of history, people, characters. This is like the ending of it all wrapped up. Revelation, I think it's a great book. It's a book about hope. But a quick recap to what we did, to where we are going. We went through Revelation 1. I'll get that screen. Revelation 1, where John, he's on Patmos, he sees Jesus, he has revelations. Chapters 2 and 3 is what we went through. The 7 letters to the 7 churches, Philadelphia, Smyrna, Ephesians, Pergamon, Laodicea, other churches as well. And then we've got pretty much chapter 4 to the end of chapter 22. And what happens in chapter 4 is essentially what happens after chapter 3. And that's very obvious. Well, it is, because it says it in our passage. Revelation 4, chapter 4, verse 1, it says, "After this, I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven, and a voice I heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, "Come up, I will show you what must take place after this." So there is, something else takes place after chapter 3. And I think, Revelation is a book about hope. And if you were here on chapter 1, Chris opened up to say, Revelation is, there are some stuff that happens in it, stuff that happens in our life, but the encouragement is hang on, hold on, there is hope. And that is something that we need to have in mind as we continue to read. But what we want to do before we continue on into looking at this text, for the next couple of months, we are going to be looking more about the themes and these ideas and concepts of Revelation. So in the booklets, it kind of has that. Rather than going through chapter and chapter, we're going to do these themes and these concepts. And to help do that is we want to tee up some ideas. If we have in mind now, will help us reading the book of Revelation going forward. So if I kind of understand this bit a little bit now, and the hope is, as we continue to read these big concepts and these themes, it will be a bit easier to understand. So there are two things that we're going to quickly look at. And the first is the use of words. So the word like, for example. Like is trying to help us understand something. It's trying to do a metaphor. It's helping us picture something. So the idea of he ran like the wind means the guy probably runs really fast. His words cut like a knife. His words probably quite painful. The snow fell like feathers, probably quite light in its dropping. So in Revelation 4, it says, after this I looked, this is the passage we just looked at, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard speaking to me like a trumpet. Like a trumpet, probably a loud voice, an announcement that happens. It's an image that we have there. Open door, trumpet sound. Revelation 3, a rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne. Idea of promise, of light happening around. So this is a great image that I found on Bible art. It was really cool. We've got stuff like a sea of glass, clear as crystal. So maybe this idea of calm and stillness. The first living creature was like a lion. Lion represents strength and power. So John does this to try and describe God. And sometimes I think, when we're reading the Bible, particularly Revelation, it might seem like some of the descriptions, I can't really picture it. It feels quite weird. And that is true because the Revelation was written nearly 2,000 years ago. And I think it's kind of like us trying to describe the internet or I don't know, Netflix or something to someone 1,000 years ago. It's quite hard to do. We have to use these metaphors to try and describe. But also, what John does, he tries to tie back to past books of the Bible as well, which we'll go through. So, the rainbow has significance. This rainbow from Noah, if you know the story, Noah and the flood. Rainbow represents promise. The idea of a lion. Lion is referred to in Genesis as well, which we'll touch onto as well. So looking out for the words such as like. And then the second is the use of numbers. So numbers have meaning in the Bible. And the key one for us here is 7. 7 is written a lot, over 50 times, just in Revelation. It's 22 chapters, over 50 times. And the number 7 means perfect. It means perfect, wholeness, completeness. So when we went through the 7 churches, what it means is the churches of every age. This age, past, future, every church. 7 lampstands, it means every witness. 7 trumpets is this idea of the announcement that's going to happen. And there's loads of others ones too. There's churches, lampstand, trumpet, 7 seals. We'll go through 7 horns, 7 bowls. There's lots of that is written just in our passage today. So as we continue to journey through Revelation, just have in mind, this idea of the words, what's John trying to do to help us imagine things, but also the number, the use of numbers such as 7. Finally, our passage, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, "Then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writings on both sides and sealed with 7 seals." That was a big tongue twister this morning. So it was writing on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. And that's there. When you buy a house, you're given a piece of paper that has, it's like a title deed that is there. So it will say, obviously, your name. So Nicky Wong, 1 Blackthorn Street, or All Hallows Bow, 1 Blackthorn Street, London, E3PX, and then it'll say a bunch of other stuff, blah, 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 blah. This is your property. This is the title deed that is there. And it's been that way for thousands of years. We have the title deed to the church today, guys. Isn't it great? This is the title deed to the church. And it was the same in the Roman Empire. So if you bought a property, you were given the scroll. And this scroll here in verse 1, this is the scroll of the world. This is the scroll of the earth that is on the right hand of God. If you remember in Genesis 1, it says, in the beginning, God created. God created the world, created the skies, the waters, animals. He creates us, you and me, he creates that. But then it says that he gave the earth, the title deed, if you will, to a man called Adam. And Adam, if you translate it in Hebrew, means humanity. So what happens is God gives this title deed to Adam or humanity to work it, to tend to it, to cultivate the land, to work it. And if you know the story, Adam/us, we mess up. We do the one thing we're told not to do. We eat from the forbidden fruit. We sin. So our ownership of the earth is then like contested. It's contested from Adam, humanity, to the enemy, to the devil, to Satan. And if you're like, do we see that in the Bible? I would say there's an argument for it to be yes. God calls Satan the god of this world, with a small g. Jesus calls Satan the prince of this world. That's why Paul says in Corinthians 4, the god of this age, again, small g. Satan does have power and dominion over this world. And I feel like maybe you've had it before, maybe you have it now. Sometimes you hear those, and I used to say it too, why is there so much, war? There's so much conflict. There's so much disease. There's so much stuff going on. There's hardship after hardship after hardship. Why God? But that's not the God that we know. That's not like God Jesus. That's the God of this world, of the prince of this world, the devil, the enemy. A few chapters later, we were just talking about numbers. So number 7 means perfect, completeness. Maybe you know that number 666, that comes from Revelation. That comes from, we're going to be looking at that in a couple of weeks or a couple of months' time, this idea of number 666. So the bad news is the title deed of the world is contested. But there is good news. When you get a mortgage, you can also have someone like a guarantor. So if you can't quite make the payments, that guarantor, they take the consequence of paying, or if whatever it is, it falls on them. And in Jewish law, when you couldn't pay, the person or the bank, they'd want to repossess that property. But they would write on the scroll conditions. Chris, why don't you come up? Why don't you come up? And then, so, Chris, for example, he's got the title deed. But he can't pay it. He can't open up. He can't. Maybe just try. I think I'm gonna be here a while. Yeah, whilst he's doing that, he's trying to open the title deed. It's his, but he can't pay it. So the bank's trying to take it away. But there is a guarantee. And actually, the guarantor, it's a great name, I think, in the Bible. It's called a kinsman redeemer. I think it's a great name. And the kinsman redeemer essentially takes on, he's the guarantor that will help redeem the property. So, Jenny, why don't you come up? And as you come up, there's a pair of scissors that I left next to the Haribos. And I felt lightheaded, so I had to eat something. So... And then, now you're the kinsman redeemer. Why don't you now try and open it? Hopefully it should work. Try your best. You want to rip the title deed though. Here's what it is. It's happened. It's okay. But Jenny has redeemed the property, and now, yeah, we can sit. Chris, you can sit too. But Jenny's redeemed this. I tape this a lot. Pretend this is open, and the scroll is now open. The kinsman redeemer has redeemed the. It's quite hard. I typed that a lot. Chris has done it. But this idea of kinsman redeemer, we actually see it in the Bible before. Thank you so much. There we go, guys. I only wrote the first bit because I didn't think the rest of it was as necessary. But you get the picture. King's Redeemer is actually written elsewhere. It's in the story, if you know, of Ruth. Boaz is their family kingsman redeemer. So this idea of redeeming a family, redeeming a property. So the bad news is the earth. It's contested. It's transferred over to the devil. The good news is the title deed can be bought back by the kingsman redeemer, which is Jesus. But John, we see in verse 2, he doesn't see it. He says, "I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice." Who is worthy? The angel's asking the question, who is worthy to break the seals and open it? Who is worthy to loosen the seals? Who can get the title deed back? Who can meet the conditions? Who can buy back the scroll? And in verse 3 to 4, John says, "But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside it." And John says, "I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside." When I was thinking of this talk and I was praying over it, I feel like John's words here are encouragement to us. The angel's words are encouragement to us, and particularly in this time. And it's the words, "Do not weep." I think, do not weep. The angel says to him, "Do not weep." John weeps because he does not understand. And I think, particularly in the time that we are in now, there is so much that we don't understand. Every time that I turn on the news, I have no idea what to say sometimes. I just look at the news and I'm like, why do I look at this again? But then I'm in the conflict of like, oh, well, I feel like I should because I need to be what? But I'm like, oh, it's straining. And then, you hear other people around, maybe you feel like this too. It's politics, it's unrest in politics, distrust, finances, conflict of war, and you speak to people across different countries. It's the same thing. You've got personal things. I want to get this job. I didn't get this job. I've applied for years. I think I've taken the right turn. I've actually taken left. I don't understand. And then it makes us want to weep. It makes us want to cry like John does. But the angel reminds him, "Do not weep." I think mourning and misunderstanding are linked together. We mourn because we don't understand. We weep and we cry because we don't understand. In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, it says, "All things work together for the good of those who love God." That's the song that we were singing before, "All things work together for my good." If you love God, all things are going to work out. We mourn because we don't understand. We mourn because we don't understand. But God is working all things for us. And sometimes we question, well, what about the bad stuff that happens? What about actually the bully at work or the boss that constantly picks on me? What about the person that maybe stole from me or whatever it is? How can that be God working for our good? Well, we kind of spoke about this just before. That's not Jesus. God doesn't want that. That's the enemy. That's the devil that we are battling against in the world. The world and our flesh. The devil is what we're battling against. God works all things for our good. Corinthians 4:4 says, "The God of this world," so the devil, small g, "blinds the people of the earth to see God's goodness and his light." Now, we are blinded by the devil. We can't see Jesus, so we question, why does this happen? But God works all things for his good. So to not lose sight, to not lose hope. It's what we spoke about in Revelation 1, cling on to hope. Life is going to be rough, but you can cling on to Jesus. So do not weep. And when I say that to you, I don't mean like never cry as well, guys. I don't think anyone in this room has been like, "Oh, I've never cried before." When I actually before I became a Christian, I actually never cried. It's only since I became a Christian, I cry all the time. And at stupid things as well. I said in the morning service, I remember it was bad because I was watching Transformers 2. And there's a scene in it around Optimus Prime. He's dead. And what is that main character called? Sam in it. He's going to try and resurrect Optimus, and I'm like, it's so sad. He's trying his best to and I was crying in there. I'm like, this is bad, guys. But so it's not like never cry. And this is really easy. It's easy to say something, don't cry. But it's more, don't be down and stay down. Don't be down and stay down. Jesus is here to save. Jesus is here to save. And it continues on into that verse 5 by saying, oh, I think it's gone back. Yeah, it continues on verse 5. John says, I wept and wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. But then verse 5 says, then one of the elders said to me, do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. Two names for Jesus here. The first is we've got Lion of the tribe of Judah. That's taken from Genesis 49. It says, Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hands will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. And it says, you are a lion's cub. Judah, you return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down like a lioness who dares to rouse him. You are like a lion. I would love to, if I was younger, I would love to, if my mum called me like a lion or something, I was like a squirrel. Like, I don't know, my mum always never had that in mind for me. Imagine your parent calling you a lion. And why? Because Jesus is powerful. The lion is king of the jungle, the king of Israel. The lion came from the tribe of Judah. If you've been following through the Bible in 1 year, which I know a few of us have, right at day 1, Matthew 1, it goes through that lineage back to Judah, back all the way. Jesus tying to the king, David, all the way to the tribe of Judah. I've written here, Jesus is the King of kings, Lord of lords, which every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. My question for us this evening, one of two, is Jesus the King of your life? Is Jesus the King of your life? Is he the one guiding your decision? Is he the one that we follow, that we listen to the job that we decide, to the person that we date, to do the act that we think? Is Jesus sat on our throne? And the second is, it says the root of David, which is taken from Isaiah. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots, a branch will bear fruit, it says. Isaiah 11. Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Abide in me, and you will bear much fruit. My second question is, are we abiding in the vine? Are we abiding in Jesus? Are we waking up? Are we going through the day? Are we ending the day with Jesus on our lips, in our minds, and on our hearts? Are we being with? Are we listening to? Are we bearing fruit? The fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I can only really do it by singing the song in my head. It's really bad. I have to say it as fast as I can there. There's a minister that I heard of. He actually lives, he used to live just up the road in Tower Hamlets. And every day when he wakes up, he would sit on his chair, and he said he wouldn't move until he heard from the Spirit. He encountered the Holy Spirit. And now, obviously, practically, most of us in the room are like, he's not going to be a fun person to work with. He's going to be late to every meeting and everything. But the posture in that, I don't want to move until I've heard from God. I think that's amazing. I wish I could do that, but I think, again, I'm like the practical side. I don't know if I can. But this idea of I'm not going to move until I've heard from God, I think it's amazing. Now, are we abiding to receive fruits? Are we producing fruit, as well? And then verses 6 to 7. It says, then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircled by 4 creatures and the elders. We just quickly stop there. I found this amazing that when the end day comes, you've got Jesus, who we think is going to come in, it's going to be amazing. He's covered in blood. It's a lamb slain in blood. Probably doesn't look attractive, but when we go through further weeks, we see the enemy looking amazing. He looks like attractive. We want to go. And I think that's what Jesus talks about with the gate. There is a narrow gate and there is a wide gate. Actually, I think it's our perspective. Do we see Jesus as probably doesn't look as good, the slain lamb, or what perhaps does look attractive but actually offers us nothing as well? Encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders, the lamb had 7 horns, 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. He went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. So on number 7 is written loads here. as well. The four creatures that are in Revelation 4, they represent the lion, so represents power. And we've got the ox, which represents sacrifice and service. And we've got man, who represents wisdom. And we've got the eagle, which represents like hovering around. They represent pretty much the world. You've got power, you've got strength, you've got man in his wisdom, you've got eagles like around the world, you've got ox of service. And then you've got all these ideas of the lamb had 7 horns. So the lamb's in the throne room, on the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures, so people of the world, everything of the world. The 7 horns represent power in Israel and Rome. And yet here we have a lamb. Jesus has 7 horns. So he's both sacrifice, he's the one being sacrificed, but he's also powerful. He's mighty to save. When we are weak, he is strong. And then we've got 7 eyes, which symbolize sight. So God is all-seeing. He's not just all-powerful, he is all-seeing. He's all-knowing. Jesus sees us. He sees all of us in our what we think about, in our hearts, in our minds. And then we've got 7 spirits. 7 spirits of God, which is this idea of being sent is all time, throughout time, 7 spirits. I wrote it down, but I've actually taken one away. It's like omnipotent, omnipresent, and is there any other for the third one? Omniscient, that is it. Yeah, I actually had it, but then I've written omnipresent twice. So omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Yes, people know. Also, it's good because people are paying attention, which is good. God is all. So no matter what I've tried to describe and define all 3 of them. No matter where you are, Jesus is with you. No matter how you feel, Jesus never leaves you, and Jesus is always thinking of you. I'm going to come to land, but then quickly on verse 8. It says, when he had taken it, the 4 creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are prayers of God's people. This idea of harp, it's worship. Golden bowls, this idea of symbolizing prayer like incense. And it continues by saying, and they sang a new song. You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals. Because you were slain, and with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people of nations. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth. Then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands, 10 times of thousands. They encircled the throne, living creatures and elders, and a loud voice they were saying, worthy is the Lamb who was slain, to receive power and wealth, wisdom and strength, honor and glory and praise. Then I heard every creature in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, and on the sea, and all that is in them, saying, to him who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb be praise and honor, glory and power, forever and ever. I've tried to describe this in as short words as I could, but I've just put, this is worship. This is worship in heaven. Every knee will bow one day. All those 4 living creatures represent everything. Everyone is going to bow one day. So the idea of do not weep is one thing, but it's not just do not weep. It's turning weeping into worship. To not worry, but to worship. To turn anxiety into adoration. God is worthy. God is saved. And that's what I want to give us time to do tonight. We've got a few more songs that we want to just pray and worship God. Worship, it also isn't just about singing songs. It is a part of it. When we're singing, we're lifting our voices to God. But also, I think witnessing baptisms. Baptism is worship, choosing to give their life over to God. It's in our prayers. It's meditating. It's reading His Word. What we're saying is, Lord, that you are good. You are worthy. It's not dictated on my feeling. You're good. I'm going to worship despite my circumstances. And what happens when we worship is our worries do go. Our worries they turn because our perspectives are different. It's no longer on the problem. It's now on Jesus, on His power and His might. So what I want us to do is we're just going to worship. So if I invite Ben to come up, if we're willing, neighbors, why don't we stand? And I'm just going to pray for us to receive the Holy Spirit.